People who confessed feeling to their crush. What happened afterwards? Story 1, we went out on a date because, as it turns out, she had a crush on me too. We've been happily married for 8 years now and just had our first child 3 weeks ago. Sometimes you just have to go for it. Story 2, I was in grade 10. I told my crush that I liked him. He stared at me for a few seconds, gave me a high five, and walked away. We were best friends and didn't talk about it again for a couple years. We were still really close, and now it's just a funny story. Story 3, we had been texting and talking on and off for about 2 weeks, and I just stepped out and said, do you mind if I shift gears here and say something a little serious? Her, go ahead, me, I like you. I really like you. I'm interested in you. You're the absolute best. I think you're beautiful. I am fascinated by the way you love being around people, and they love being around you. I like you a lot. Her, well, you should know that I like you back. March 2008 conversation between me and my crush. Our 10th anniversary is in a little over 2 weeks. Story 4, she agreed to make out with me. Then we hooked up that night. 3 years later, we married. Currently have a 4-year-old and very happy family. If I hadn't said something, none of this would have happened. Story 5, answering this seriously, I'm 19 and had a crush on a girl I play Frisbee with for a solid year. She invited me to her Bible study, and a couple weeks later, she was going to start up HS again. So the night before she started school again at Bible study, I was going to say something, but I chickened out. Driving away, I was just like, screw this. I'm just going to tell her how I feel and get it over with. So I texted her asking if she would meet me outside her house in 10 minutes. And she was confused as I had just left but agreed. 10 minutes later, I walked up to her and said, hey, I know you have a busy life, but I'm going to regret it if I don't tell you this. You're a really incredible person, and I really like you. You don't have to feel the same, but if you're interested, I'd love to do something with you and get to know you better. Turns out she had feelings for me too. This was about 2 months ago, and right now I'm looking at a cut on my hand I got from playfully wrestling her into a pink beanie just a few hours ago. You could say things turn out well. Story 6, she laughed at me and said, why would I date a disabled boy when there are so many normal boys at the school? Are you stupid? It came out of nowhere since we were in the same class. Talked all the time, both in person and on Skype, and I had no idea she of all people could be that hateful. Edit, wow, I go to bed, and my inbox is flooded. Thank for the kind words, everyone. Story 7, he never said a word, but then he had other things on his mind. The night I told him he was 3 days away from starting 18 weeks of chemo for his stomach cancer and facing a prognosis of 12 to 18 months. Had said when things got bad for him, he'd go away on his own. He's a big, bad, stubborn alpha-raz guy, and that's how he deals. So I had to tell him how I felt while I had the chance, 'cause I never know when it's going to be the last time I see him. Story 8, rejection after rejection after rejection. Also, systematically got the it's not you, it's me response, still single at 23, got rejected 7 times now. Story 9, she told me she was dating a friend of mine. Context, they were keeping the relationship quiet and didn't want anyone to know. I didn't know, completely apologized, backed off immediately, spent a couple weeks at distance to get my feelings in order and let the awkwardness pass. We're still friends. Story 10, ID just becomes single. And she was having breakup talks with her boyfriend. We had worked together for months, became friends, and helped each other through hard times. One day, I had to tell her she was more than a friend to me, and to act otherwise felt dishonest. So I told her, she smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, me too. The day she left him, we were watching trains pass and skipping rocks on the waterfront. We kissed next to the tumble roar of a freight train and spent the night together with wine and hours of talking and laughing. Showed up to work next day, tired but happy. Spent a few weeks in a confused bliss after our relationships had ended and we fell for each other. Then she moved away, and boy, am I pining over her hee-hee. It was a bold move to tell her, but I'm grateful that I did. Story 11, this actually just happened to me. He said that he'd keep it in mind, and then we started talking about Mario Kart. I'm not expecting anything to come of it, and that's more than fine. Story 12, he asked me out just before I could confess. He apparently had been thinking about asking me out for a couple days, but I had had a crush on him for a couple months. I invited him over for Christmas since he didn't have family in the state. I had no commitments and generally didn't want to be alone due to some personal issues with an ex-roommate. He stayed. For some reason, he just pulled me against him on the couch, and we just watched videos for hours. Then he asked me out. Shortly after, I admitted to the large crush I'd had on him, and he was like, oh, I knew. Story 13, I female told him that I had feelings for him immediately after getting out of a bad relationship. He said, oh, awkward, because he thought the guy was nice and would feel bad dating me. We still dated anyway, and got married in 2017. Story 14, I was on the other side of this. Crush was confessed to me. I wasn't interested but wanted to stay friends. Over the next 6 months, we became best friends. Then I developed feelings for him, confessed my crush. 3 years later, we're engaged. Story 15, I find your thoughts of me surprising, but not creepy, no. But you are correct, I'm definitely not a single girl. And unlike most women, I do remain true to him. No sense in simply dating someone you don't plan an entire future life with. You know? Then 2.5 years later, I spent a night getting drunk with her in her apartment, and she was flirting with me, but I was too scared to do anything about it. Story 16, she doesn't know it all, and I had this huge crush on her for years. It was my last chance to ever see her. She was walking with her friends, and walked to her, and said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" She carried on walking, and said no. And that was it. Story 17, not together anymore. Yes, this is real. I was 16, young and dumb. She was 15, smart and sweet. She said yes, because we'll see each other more. When we grew apart, I said we can still be cousins. Story 18, he was in the middle of telling me he was starting to develop a crush for another person, and I said, well, I'ma be honest, I'm feeling a bit jealous because I've had a crush on you this whole time. He had no clue because I'm super bad at flirting, and he figured I'd never be interested. Figure I just thought of him as a friend. Anyways, he completely abandoned that crush he had, and we went out for 6 years, but went our separate ways eventually on good terms. Still really good friends. Story 19, she rejected my wish for a relationship. She wanted to be just friends, but I rejected her wish for a friendship. Not out of resentment, but self-preservation. Staying just friends would have been self-inflicted emotional pain. Story 21st time I ever did it. I was very harshly rejected. That was in 6th grade. Second time I was in 8th grade, and it turns out they were gay, and I discovered on Valentine's Day, when I had something to give them to confess that they were dating my current best friend, they had a messy breakup not long afterwards. Third time, I was a sophomore, and it went very, very well, and they kindly said that they were flattered but preferred to stay friends. Really goes to show how the maturity changed from being harshly rejected in 6th grade by an immature boy to being kindly thanked in high school. Story 21, about 3 years of awkward social interactions among our friend group, as she constantly reminded me that she thought I was a good guy. Maybe someday, while I continue to be dumb enough to believe she just wasn't ready for anything, and I should just continue being friendly and try not to make things weird. It was weird. I eventually moved cities looking for work, got married, 2 kids, fucked tons of debt, but overall a good time. She stayed in her small town, gone hardline Christian conservative, and awful. And I'm pretty sure if I'd tried to actually have a relationship with her, I'd probably have topped myself just to spite her. So, bullet dodge there. Don't get too hung up on your first teen crush, kids. Story 22, he said he wasn't interested. I thanked him for his honesty. Now, he kind of avoids me and is pretty rude to me. So I think I may have actually dodged a bullet. If anyone's reading and they have a crush but are scared to tell them, just do it. Either they will like you back and you can start something, or they don't like you and you can move on and stop worrying about what they think. Story 23, I got rejected every single time, but that one boy was so mean, he was like, I don't want to be friends with you. Not to mention anything more than friends. Oh, and by the way, tell your dad to stop dropping you off in front of the school. It's embarrassing like bruh. The rejection itself was painful enough. Why you gotta get into my personal life? I never done anything to you, but okay, I guess. Story 24, well, that was like an hour and a half ago, and she is still 2 states away with a hangover, and we just finished have a long talk about nudes, so I'd say it went pretty well. Story 25, he said, I think you're really pretty, smart, and so funny. You're overall a wonderful person to be around. However, only like you as a friend. I haven't had the nerve to speak to him again since then. That was 9 years ago, whoops. Story 26, after returning home from a music festival at 3 a.m., my crush dropped me off at my place. I mustered the corsage to ask, I guess this means we're a couple. She replied, no, we're just friends. I was crushed. It took 6 more years before we were married. Still married 27 years later on the plus side. I bring this up every anniversary. Her response is, you hadn't learned yet not to ask me serious questions at 3 a.m. Story 27, I did confess to my crushes. Both times, it was unproductive. One time, a crush announced herself to me. Well, actually, her friends did it for her because they were getting sick of her shenanigans. I told her, let's give it a try and see what happens. We went out for a drive with her friend, and I tried to tell her that I was flattered. Something I said that evening fizzled it out. I believe, which is for the best, because I wasn't attracted to her, and it turns out her method of crushing was stalking me. Listen, if your crush makes you uncomfortable and they don't seem to notice you, forget it. If you have a zoning moment meeting each other's eyes, then that's a different thing. Keep returning and hanging around them and be friendly, and eventually something will happen. It might take years, so keep dating other people FFS. Story 28, bit of funny story. When I was around 15, 16, my best friend at the time had a crush on me. We're both males, I'm gay, and he's bi as far as I know. Just for context, I didn't correspond to him at the time, so I just tried to be nice without giving him too much hope. A year later, he got over me and was even dating some chick when he and his father got in a car accident. His father unfortunately passed away, and he was hospitalized for a few weeks. I started visiting him almost every day, and at some point I developed a major crush on him. A few months later, when he finally got back to school, I had the courage to tell him about my feelings towards him, and, well, as I said, he had really gotten over me at this point, so he didn't correspond to me anymore. Still, he was really sweet when I told him, and he said that we'd been best friends for years, and he wouldn't let this new feeling ruin this friendship in any way. He also said that I could take my time to get over it, and it was okay if I wanted to keep a little distance for a while. Eventually, I really did get over it, and we became just friends again. Sadly, it's been a few years since that happened, and we don't really talk that much anymore, but still, I consider him a dear friend. Story 29. So not me, but a friend of mine did this to a girl he had a crush on during lunch sophomore year of high school. She was sitting with a popular group, which me and my friends were not. After my buddy shot his shot, she tried to say no politely, but the other popular kid started laughing, and she did too, and he walked away dejected and humiliated. Several years later, we were home from college one summer. The girl was dating and who apparently her over and humiliated her. And after this happened, she thought back to that day in high school when she humiliated my friend and realized that she was wrong. She reached out to my friend and apologized, and they ended up hanging out. They became good friends as the years went on. That friendship evolved into a relationship. Today, they're happily married and have 3 kids. Story 30 people are so annoying like on TV, or if celebrities when someone gay, or no, they're like, OMG, that's so cute, and I'm totally an LGBT supporter, but when people at school are suddenly gay, or by it's not okay, like who are you to tell me who I can and can't like? I got a new friend. Story 31, it was outside a party in high school. We both drove, so we were going to get our cars and bring them closer to the house to pick up our friends since it was pretty late and people were starting to leave. It was one of the last times I ever saw her, and I had a feeling that would be the case, so I figured we were alone outside, no one would overhear us. So I worked up the courage to tell her. She was just speechless. She honestly had no idea how to react or what to say. She said she was flattered, but it was a no from here, and she gave me a hug and got her car. I did see her a couple times after that, and it wasn't awkward, but we ended up at neighboring universities in the same city, and she decided to block me on social media at that point. Hadn't spoken to her since we both left home, so I don't know why she did it, but maybe she felt like I might use her Instagram stories to try and stalk her, or something ick. I don't think she ever told any of her friends what happened that night, or if she did, it was kept well under wraps because it never came up. My friends never knew, and no one else ever seemed to find out. I wasn't a loser in high school, but her and I were definitely at different places on the social ladder. So I think she was a bit embarrassed, especially thinking back to her initial reaction. No idea where she is now, but I hope she's doing well for herself. Needless to say, I'm still very much single. Story 32, I suspected he liked me because I overheard him telling someone he did in my limited comprehension of French. I asked him out to lunch to tell him my feelings. He ended up inviting another coworker to join us. So I tried again later that week, explicitly asking to be just the 2 of us. He agreed. And as soon as we sat down, I told him I had a crush on him. He did not respond to the statement. And then he proceeded to talk about anything and everything else for an hour. The entire time, I wondered if he did not understand since English is his 3rd language. So at the end of lunch, I tried again to tell him how I felt. He was really happy, but then he avoided me for the next several weeks. Anyhow, we have been married for 10 years now and have a kid together. Turns out he was apprehensive about my feelings because he considered me out of his league and that I would change my mind at any moment. He did have to Google what crush meant too. Story 33, I've done this a few times. Crush 1 said nothing and avoided me for the rest of the school year. This was in 8th grade, so yeah. Crush 2 said, haha, this is a great joke, and kept laughing, so I started to laugh and went along with it. I think he knew it wasn't a joke, but he stayed a really good friend through high school. Crush 3, whom I had been crushing on for a few years in HS, and we were basically best friends. He let me down gently, and we remained really good friends. I was still attracted to him, but nothing would come of it. We still talk sometimes decade after HS, and his kids and wife are doing well. We even have game nights from time to time, as couples my husband and me with him. Crush 4 was in HS. All 3 years, I said nothing, then 2 years after HS. So, a 5-year crush, he asked me out. After a few dates, I told him I used to have a crush on him. We both agreed it was great. I said nothing during HS because we were both weirdos and it wouldn't have worked out. We are now married. Story 34, all my crushes stay crushes. I tell them my feelings and they're flattered, but I have never, ever had a crush reciprocate the feelings. Then I remind myself, why would anyone like me anyway? Story 35, he wasn't interested at first, was worried about ruining a good friendship. then agreed to buddies, which lasted about 3 months. Then we became boyfriend-girlfriend for 5 years, then married 10 years, have 2 cute kids. Pretty good result. Story 36, not a happy, and he rejected me. But it was fine. Well, some days later, the whole class knew. I got texts and calls from his friends, and even from people who I didn't even know, making fun of me. Lol. It happened some years ago, but still, I will probably never do that again because I don't want to get hurt. Story 37, he was really physically attracted to me, but didn't have feelings for me. He was respectful and honest with me. So, we had a relationship. It was really good and fun. I still liked him, but got over it and healthily moved on. We're now pretty good friends. Not bad, lol. Story 38, he said thanks, and 2 days later, stared me in the eyes as he stuck his tongue in a random girl's mouth at a party. One of my crushes, she told me she hated me and began talking behind my back about how she couldn't stand me and I was annoying and insignificant. She told my best friend how much she hated me and told everyone I was the most annoying person on earth. Even after I had done everything for her, I really don't care anymore, TBH. Story 39, my crush and I were best friends, and he said he wanted to stay friends and didn't want to ruin what we had. However, he continued to be flirty, so I tried again a couple of years later, and he finally realized he also had feelings for me. We've been together for 13 years and expecting baby 1 in November. Story 40, I had a mad crush on this boy when I was 15. I had a friend ask if he liked me back, and once I was sure, I made my super seductive move. During school recess, I asked if I could talk to him privately and let out my signature move, I like you, right, combined with my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Palms are sweaty, and I'm pretty sure my knees are about to give out. He said, yeah, I know, so what are we going to do about it? I don't know, we could go out or something. Nailed it. We've been together 6 years this coming December and got engaged on my birthday in February. You could say it turned out all right. Story 41, Eve told 2 crushes I liked them. The first one was in 8th grade, and I just said we ball and texted him, hey, I like you, right? He told me he figured, and then proceeded to tell me he started talking to the girl that rejected him again, and that he didn't like me back. But somehow, right after I sent the text, my feelings for him went away. So that was whatever, and we still remained friends. A week later, he told me he liked my best friend, and I didn't really know how to react. I didn't care that he liked her, BC, whatever, but I felt like I should have cared, and I still don't know why. The second one was recently, and it sadly did not have the same effect. I began to like him maybe 10 months ago, and I never really wanted to tell him because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. Eve never met someone like this guy. When I was around him, I had this strong feeling that he has such a heavy amount of potential. Whenever we talked, I enjoyed it so much. He made me so incredibly happy. Around the end of the school year, he told me he was moving again. He was only at my school for a year. He mentioned a few times it was his first time having a group of friends, and that he was really sad to leave us. I told him that since he was only moving a few hours away, that would invite him down as much as we could. Mostly it was BC. I didn't want to lose such a wildly amazing person in my life. And I did. Parties, get-togethers, hangouts all throughout the summer, that when he did show up, he was always fashionably late. I never felt so strongly about someone before. And it wasn't even BC. I had a crush on him. I just wanted him in my life. A few weeks before the new school year, a mixture of my friends telling me to talk to him, and that same feeling of it. We ball came over me. I told him and said that he didn't even realize, which basically made him the only person that didn't catch on BC like everyone around me assumed. We had a long conversation, and he was crazy sweet like always, and I felt some of a connection, but he never said how he felt about it. At first, my friends told me that I need to find closure and that the conversation shouldn't have ended like it did, but I didn't want to make him feel obligated to say something he didn't want to, so I gave him time. So much time that I basically just put it off for a month. It weighed so much on my life, and the inconclusiveness of it affected my mental health more than anything ever has. So 2 weeks ago, I asked for what he thinks of our conversation months ago, and for closure. He just kind of told me he had a girlfriend and friend-zoned me, which obviously hurts, but whatever. I wanted to ask how long they've been dating and who she is, but I didn't BC. I don't want to sound jealous or anything, even though I'm just genuinely curious and nothing else. Story 42, along very similar lines. At age 14, my school friend and I decided we would share the names of who we had a crush on from school. At the same time, after 3, 2, 1, we both said the same girl's name. I later found out that this girl had a huge crush on my friend. Back in the OL MSN Messenger days, I said to him, if you don't ask her out by the time I come back for her, then I'll never chat to you again. Trust me on this one, we are all approaching 25 now, and I was a groomsman at their wedding last year. Story 43, we were 16. I confessed on the bus home from a class field trip to see a production of Romeo and Juliet. It went okay initially. It was followed by 2 weeks of labelless awkwardness school holidays. He asked me out on day 2 of the next school term, followed by almost 3 years of the best and happiest moments of my life so far. am really grateful I got to experience that. Nowadays, we're still great friends and came to the conclusion that the way our lives are both heading logistically and career-wise, attempting to sustain a romantic relationship despite feelings and stuff is not the best way to go. Yay for making healthy yet painful choices, I guess. Story 44. I asked my crush if she liked me. She said no because she panicked. I was upset. In the June after that, she asked me out. OFC, I said yes. This was July this year. We were still together, and 4 months after getting together is tomorrow, October 1st. 10 months after getting together is April Fool's Day as well, so I might prank her. Ick for certain, though. Might do it, might not. Story 45. Not me, but a friend. While I'm not really a cool guy, a lot of my friends are by cool, I mean like social. They aren't dickskids or anything. Well, I wouldn't call myself cool, but I'm also more social than most people. I'm friends with the more well-known people, and 'cause I'm athletic, a lot of people know me. So my friend had a really close girlfriend, like friend, not like GF. They always hung out, and you could tell they had some level of attraction to each other. He didn't even tell me about his feelings. I'm actually one of his closest friends. I was one of the first people he told when they got together. They try to keep it hush-hush. Turns out she was dropping hints about her, liking him, asking him questions about relationships and girls, and one day, they just met at the lockers and confessed their feelings at the same time, randomly. In jail, I didn't see it coming because neither of them were really mature enough for a relationship. They were a crazy couple, but they could be cute as I'm still constantly third-wheeling those idiots. And they're actively trying to help me get over my crush because she rejected me. That's a story for another time. Actually, that would be better for this thread. But NVM, because fuck they cute, if edit, I'm just going to talk about my crush anyway. We're close as, and we love each other like siblings. We have a lot of late-night talks, and one particular night, we were talking, and I just confessed that I never told her I had a crush. I just didn't tell her it was her. I told her I didn't tell her because I was scared of losing her as a friend because I thought I wasn't good enough. She told me she loved me like a brother. I actually already knew she was interested in another guy, but I told her anyway. We're still like siblings. Edit 2, I got another good story, but I'll write it later. Story 46, I never confessed to someone, but lots of girls confess to me. Sounds good. But the problem is I never like them back, so I'm trying my best at comforting them after denying their confession. I never run away leaving them in tears, so when we met again, they're usually not heartbroken or mad at me. Story 47. ID liked him for years. He was very, very shy and oblivious. He was also like physically shy to the point where a hug between us would be a quick hug with a small pat on the back like he had no idea what to do. One night something changed, just a little, and he tickled me during a game we were playing. I laid back and hugged him, and to my surprise he laid down and wrapped his arms around me, and then followed the instructions when my evil best friend said, "Stroke her back." She likes it, so somehow, during this process, we had moved close enough for our noses to touch. So I leaned in and kissed him. He froze. I froze, pulling away, and then the longest 10 seconds of history passed before he leaned in and kissed me. Story 48, there was this artsy girl that Eve befriended, eventually leading to me having a crush on her. She was 5 years older than me, and I did tell her. She actually took it very well. Obviously, she didn't love me back in that way, but I want to believe she didn't hate me as a person either. But because I was a teenager with hormones running through me, I couldn't really brush off the fact that I had a thing for her, and I eventually just stopped interacting with her, so I could move on. I have to mention that I had a bit of an incel mentality at that time. And I was kind of creepy. I used to send her weird apology messages, and I stalked her a bit online. It was something I really regret doing, but I didn't know it was wrong. And looking back at it, I just cringed so hard, lol. After a while, I kind of just woke up from the whole incel thing. And I believe it was because of this event, so she kind of unintentionally saved me from going on a really wrong path. Story 49. Oh, I can answer this one. I finally confessed to a crush 8 years after I first started crushing on her. Turns out her preference in men from a physicality perspective had evolved to not include me. We had an adult conversation about it, and I moved on. We're still friends. Story 50. The last time I opened up, I told the guy I'd like to get to know you better. And we'll flash forward to today, and we both know things about each other that nobody else does, if you know what I mean. We've been living together 2 years come November. Story 51. My dream scenario is just me and her having a one-on-one conversation where I confess my true love. She knows I have a crush on her, but she don't know exactly how much I love her. Story 52. This question brings me back to a time where I was crushing on my best friend's friend. My best friend is a dude. The girl was about same height as me, just a tad shorter, petite, and cute AF. Come to find out, another one of my friends, a girl, was my crush's hairdresser, and pretty close to her. Hairdresser friend, and I used to work at Chuck E. Cheese's and had a great friend-to-friend relationship during the time we worked together. So I decided to talk to Chuck E. Cheese friend and get the lowdown to see if this girl is mental or cool. I have a tendency to find psychotic chicks attractive, I guess. And this girl seemed like she was on the up track in life, as a nurse assistant going to college still, and really easy to talk to. So I gradually started talking to my crush more and more until we're starting to hang out on a one-on-one basis. One day, I'm texting my old coworker friend while hanging out with my crush, and she notices I start smirking. So she asks me what I think is so funny. I start dodging the question, and she catches on and calls me out on it. So I ask her if she really wants to know that badly, to which she replies yes. So I lay it out verbatim. Well, ever since I first saw you, I thought you were really cute. You've been nothing but kind to me, and multiple people see us flirting back and forth. So I think it's time anyway that I put myself out there and see if you'd be interested in seeing how deep this rabbit hole goes. My heart was beating. She started smiling, and she told me to let her see my phone so she can give me her number. Gladly, I handed it over, and we started texting near every day. About 2 weeks later, buzz from my best friend is that my crush is starting to hang out with her ex-boyfriend more often. Red flag one. But crush pulls me aside and says she's not interested in hooking back up with this guy. She just wants to not be after breaking up with someone it didn't work out with, and only plans to hang out with him rarely. I tell my coworker friend about this a couple weeks after crush, and I had discussed her hanging out with her ex, and my coworker was pissed, unbeknownst to me, while my ex-coworker was doing her hair, having girl talk. Crush told her all about how she was just stringing me along for fun, and that she found it hilarious how I was so gullible, and that I need to take initiative and stop talking to her because she's careless about my heart. Crush continues to text me, and Mike continues to reply. So I tell my ex-coworker that she keeps texting me. Coworker rips her a new one next time she sees her, yells at her as she's doing her hair because she got hella triggered from Crush saying how come coworker has to ruin her fun. Got written up, but she said it was worth it, and that how she's hardly able to stand looking at Crush anymore. I tell my best friend what's going on, and he is apprehensive about the whole thing. Crush is really good at putting up a facade, so I arrange a meeting between coworker, best friend, and other mutual friend to review the evidence. Come to find out, Crush is really a two-faced heartless. Best friend continued to be friends with her. All my friends saw her true colors, and all my chick friends wanted to kick her. Coworker asked if I wanted to help play a part in ruining her life for what she did to me, but I declined because I just wanted the drama to be over and move on with my life. TLDR, met a cute chick through best friend. One of my favorite old coworkers was Crush's hairdresser and close friend. I told Crush I was into her, and Crush played me like a fiddle. Story 53, in high school, I told my crush I liked him, and his response was I know before he walked off to go to class. He acted completely normal during lunch, and it wasn't until after school that day that he messaged me on Facebook telling me he liked me too. We've been together almost 8 years. Story 54, confessing my feelings to my first crush. Laughed in my face and made me feel horrible about it. Confessing my feelings to my second crush. Went pretty well, tried dating for about a week, then broke it off because it turned out that we just weren't compatible at all, and it just didn't feel right. Confessing my feelings to my third crush. Went amazingly. She said she felt the same way as I did, and we went on our first official date that same day. We've been inseparable ever since and have been happily together for 4 years already. Story 55, I'd been in love with her for years. When I told her how I felt, she said she wasn't interested. I took it very hard and started drinking more than I should have at the time. It seemed to me that we would have been perfect together. Looking back, I can see how it wouldn't have worked out. For so long, I had conformed to a version of me that I thought she would want to be with. After it became clear that she only wanted to be friends, I got to rediscover who I was and what I wanted with my life. A little less than a year later, I met the love of my life and couldn't be happier.